Here we go, another honest review from a YouTuber who's been sent an item to give an unbiased review. How unbiased can it be if it's been sent to me for free? Well, let me start with this. It's broken before I even plug it in. So we're going to be reviewing two things today. One, YesWelder customer service. Two, if I can get it fixed, the machine itself. Hello YouTubes, today I will be wearing my serious glasses because this is a serious subject. It's all very well getting free stuff sent to you, and you don't really want to tell the company anything wrong with the machine because you want to keep getting the free stuff, right? However, that wouldn't be fair to you guys, and without you guys I don't have a channel. So this is the, what is it, a MiG 250 Pro aluminum MIG welder without a spool gun. I mean, you can add a spool gun, but you can weld without a spool gun if it works. Now, the issue I've got with it is not a serious issue, and to be honest, it's more of a packing issue rather than a manufacturing issue, which I'll show you in a minute. But as I say, there's absolutely no point in me doing reviews and stuff and recommending them to you if the machine is broken or doesn't work. Now, I've got a YesWelder TIG welder, a YesWelder plasma cutter, and a YesWelder First Test multi-function MIG stick plasma cutter thing, and everything has been really great. However, what happens when something breaks? How good is customer service? That's equally or even more important than the product itself. So with that said, let me show you what went wrong with this on arrival. When this type of welder is sent to you, they utilise every tiny nook and cranny to add all their accessories. So the likes of your ground cable and this stick cable thing, they're actually crammed in here, right, just to save a bit of space in packaging. The problem with that was when I went in here to add my aluminum wire roll, it's just a small roll I've got, so I had to take off the big section, and then I noticed inside here where your wire roll would sit, this was broken off. Now, it's not a major problem, but as I say, this is not a manufacturing issue. This has been caused by cramming in this and then cramming in the next thing, and you're forcing it against the plastic roller. And I believe that is what's gone wrong here. So all I have to do really is hopefully get a new attachment section here. There's two screws there. I could take the whole thing out and then pop in a new one if they have the spares, which I don't know yet. I have sent them an email and we'll see how quickly they get back to me. For now, however, because I want to test this, I'm going to take this off and reattach this with some super glue for now, and hopefully if they send me a new part I can just screw it all together. I don't want to have to send the whole unit back, regardless of whether I paid for this or whether it was a free unit to me to review. I'm not the sort of person that makes issues out of stuff. I will just fix it and get on with life, like most of you would as well. So as I say, not a major issue. Let me nip round to Home Depot, grab some Gorilla Glue, super glue, whatever it is, or some plastic glue. I'll stick that together, let it dry, and then we can get on with the review. Meanwhile, we shall wait and see if YesWelder get back to me with a resolution. Okay, I picked up some of this Super Bond. Apparently it's the world's fastest adhesive. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we will try the wiggle test. Nothing moving. Let us proceed. Apologies for the sniffing today. It is pollen season and nature hates me. That's why I've got the clever glasses on instead of contacts. It's a bit gritty. Right, what do you get with this kit then? We have a very handsome little MIG welder unit here. Now I need to point out this is a 250 Pro, runs only 220. Unlike the smaller ones that can run 110 or 220, this is specifically a 220 unit with the big plug. Probably because it's for welding steel and aluminum, so it needs the higher voltage. Nice little cover on the front, we'll see what lights up, but I think it's just your basic digital. It's not going to be the fancy LED on the first test. all sorts of modes. As I say, we'll find out when we switch it on. I've no idea what it's going to light up. What I do love about the YesWelder stuff is all these quick release connectors. Really like them. I need to look up the instructions for how I'm going to set up for aluminum, because that is specifically why I wanted this unit, another quick release for the welding torch itself. And on this side obviously is where your wire goes. I've got it ready for a small roll or reel, but it's got all the adapters to put on the big one and the big spray thing. But as I say, only get the small reel for the moment. And then inside you've got your usual spring-loaded clamp. Oh, what I should point out is you've got your wire roller down there already in place, but there is another 3 of them here, which is really cool. We've got 0.9 on one side, 0.8, 6, I'm confused, U1.2, that's 0.9, 0.9, is that 2? No, that must be, nope, I'm confused. One's got 0.9, oh, I know what it is, look. This is actually serrated on the inside. It's kind of weird, I need to look up what that's for. And that's just smooth. And 0.8 and 0.6. So lots of options there for wire size. Then of course we have the stick welding cable torch. I'm not sure what you call that. I've never stick welded. I need to try it at some point. Yet another ground earth cable with quick release connector. Love those things. I've got like 7 of these now, which is fine. Air connector for the gas, whether that be argon for the aluminum or CO2 mix for steel, and obviously our big quick release welding torch thing. It's even got a little cap in the end to keep it nice. And I do love the YesWelder torches, they just feel quality. It's already got a tip inside. Also I noticed there's I think this is a Teflon liner, which is specifically for aluminum wire, because aluminum wire is pretty soft and you need something very slippery for it to glide through, so that will go inside there when you're doing aluminum, I believe. And I've not even read the instructions, which are here. Nice big instruction booklet, which I will read, and a welder setting chart, which is handy. I should frame this. It's probably got a quick setup guide as well. Consumables, lift torch consumables, front panel instructions, pretty good. So I need to have a good look through them. A little wire brush with a chipper and the usual Teflon tape. However, oh yeah, I was going to say what's the point in that, but I'll still need it for the gas bottle. And unfortunately it doesn't come with a gauge or a regulator for the gas, but I've got one on my bottle, so no biggie there. Right, let's read some instructions, put it together, see what we can do with it. Step 1 then, let's add this Teflon, or I think it's called graphene liner, to the inside. We'll remove the tip at the top because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use that one. Put that down somewhere safe. And on the other side we need to remove that little holder and then extract the normal MIG welding liner. You'll see this when I pull it all the way out. It's got a big springy thing, and you can imagine soft aluminum wire would just get caught up in that. So it's important to take this out and put in the Teflon / graphene version. Now notice when I took this out of its bag, where it had been snipped, it was a wee bit squished. So what I'm going to do is get a little Phillips screwdriver and just stick it into the Teflon end and just make it nice and round, so again the aluminum wire isn't going to get hung up on it. Now I will have to cut the Teflon liner to size, so I figured the best way to do that is just to line it up against the original one. Be very careful. I did this 3 times to make sure, and then when they were both exactly the same size, I just got a Sharpie marked the spot and just snipped it. And I did the same thing with the small Phillips screwdriver, just to make sure that the hole was nice and wide and the aluminum wire wasn't going to get caught up on it. So now of course we have to feed the liner into the torch tube. It was a wee bit fiddly at the start, but I just pushed it a little bit harder and it got past its little obstacle. Once it got all the way to the end, it had another obstacle. I did have the cable as straight as possible, so I couldn't figure out what was going on, so I decided to remove this piece at the end. It didn't actually affect it, it was getting caught up on the base of the trigger. I just had to push it a bit harder and it finally went through. So after that I can put the nozzle back on the torch side, make sure that's secure, and then we can put the little securing screw on the machine side, and I'm just double checking that it's cut to the right size. I didn't want it too long, too short. Everything seemed fine at this point. On to the gas feed. Now I've already got the gas feed going to my TIG welder, so I need to remove that. Obviously make sure your bottle's off before you do this. If you see that I've got Teflon tape there, that's not actually required for these connections, but I had the tape so I used it at the time. So I'm just swapping it for my new feed, which will go into the new machine. I would love to have a bottle for every machine, but not made of money, and my garage is not made of space. And of course it's the same connection that goes into the machine side as well. Screw that up, nip it up tight. Again, don't really need tape for this. If it was more of a toxic flammable gas, I'd be more paranoid about that, but it's an inert gas, so we're good. Let's talk about the power cord for a second. It's only about 6 feet long, and it does specifically say in the instructions it requires a 50 amp breaker. Luckily I've already got one installed for the electric car charger, so I'm good there. Next we need to decide on polarity. If you know anything about MIGs, and different materials require different polarity, as in this is the power coming out. So it either goes in the negative or the positive. I know it all sounds really strange, but thankfully there is a nice little handy guide here which clearly shows aluminum DC earth negative. I believe that's what that means. If it was normal MIG steel it would be DC EP, and you can see there's a slight difference in where the cables go. So for this particular test, because we're going to try aluminum, we are going with the feed coming out of the machine, looping round to the far right, and the earth is coming out the centre. Just like that. And then we can hook in our main torch cable. It can only go in one way. Everything is now connected and secure. Next, I'm going to add some aluminum MIG wire. I've had this roll of MIG welding wire, aluminum, for about 20 years. I hope it's not got a best before date. I got this for a welder in Scotland and then realised that I couldn't weld aluminum with the type of welder I had, but I held on to this little roll. So as I say, hopefully I can use it just for test purposes. I have already changed the roller on the inside of the machine to the U-type that it required. So I'm going to install this onto the mechanism, feed it through, and then we'll decide on the tip size for the end of the gun. One roll of vintage welding wire. Now it's going to be going round, pulling it that way at the bottom, so the feed has to come out that way. So this way round. This is where we find out if our super glue worked. Spring, washer, nut. So as you know, you want just enough tension on this to stop it unraveling, but not too much that it would prevent spinning. So I think we're a wee bit tight there. That should do it. Okay, now I'm going to feed the wire in there. It's kind of hidden behind this wall. That's my only critique so far, is that's a wee bit awkward to change that roller that's in there. As I say, I've already changed it to the U-type, which it requires for the aluminum wire. I'm presuming it's because, again, because the aluminum wire is a lot softer, it's got to be a slightly different shape so that it doesn't distort it. This is the wee fiddly bit to get it in here. And we're in. Okay, so we can now close our tensioner. Again, I don't want it too tight, so I'm going to start with the untightest. And if it doesn't catch it, then we can tighten it up. The last thing I want is bird nesting, which we will probably get because I've never used aluminum wire before. So next up, I am going to close this off, switch it on, and see what all the lights do. Actually, before we check all the functions, let's get the wire fed up to the end of the torch and make sure it's gripping and not bird nesting at the moment. And then I'll put the correct tip on the end. It is feeding it, it's just pretty slow. I was just having a look there to see if there was a feed speed, but I think it might be automatic. I think you have to input the type of wire, the thickness of the wire, and then it calculates how fast it should feed it, which is kind of weird, so bear with me. I think we're caught in something. The roller's rolling, but it's not pushing the wire anymore, so I've got a feeling it's just stuck somewhere, probably near the top. Let me investigate. Yeah, as expected, it was all the way up to there, but it was just hitting the wall. Where the end of the Teflon liner hits, I guess it wasn't perfectly aligned. So if I feed it up a bit, feed it through that, screw it down, we should be good. Okay, tip time. Switch this off. Interesting tip that I got from another YouTuber. My wire is 0.8 mil. And the tip I'm going to use is actually 0.9 mil. Reason being, because it's a softer wire, it could get crushed going through the rolly thing, making it kind of oblong. And if you're using an exact 0.8 tip, then it could bind up on the sides of the tip. So I'm going with a 0.9 to give it just a little bit of wiggle room. I do have a little gripe here. It says 0.9 and 1.2 in this bag for the selection, but on the actual tip itself, it's got 0.4-0.5. 0.35. So not exactly great for continuity. I'd rather it said 0.9 or 0.8 or whatever it is. Right, I'll give this a little nip up, get this on, and we will be almost ready to weld other than learning how to weld. So we'll have a look at what happens in the display when we switch it on. See you in a sec. Just a quick overview of the buttons before we continue. Top left, mode, which is for manual MIG, Synergic MIG, MMA, lift TIG. Lift TIG, interesting. I didn't know this machine did TIG. I wonder if it does aluminum TIG. That would be awesome. Moving on, material. This is actually going to change the type of gas that it's not going to change the gas. It's not like magic, but it needs to know what sort of gas you're running depending on the material you're using. So all sorts of choices for that. Menu is a clicky thing like a volume control, which will possibly affect everything else. I don't know, I should read the instructions a bit more. The wire one over here is wire diameters. Okay, interesting. Next one up is Synergic MIG mode, welding current micro adjusting. Oh, that sounds complicated. Let's ignore that one. Moving up, manual wire feed at the top. So let's switch it on and see what happens when we fiddle about with wires. And by wires, I mean buttons. So as they said in the space shuttle, what does this button do? Now don't panic, it's not flashing for me, it's just because it's a digital screen and it's a digital camera and they're not always in sync. So let's see, you've got a little symbol in the middle. So if I change the mode, it should change the type of welding that we're doing. So if I want Synergic MIG, oh, I think it was on Synergic MIG because it had an S. Oh, that looks like a symbol for lift TIG. Manual, because it's M. So let's stick with the S for Synergic MIG. Now, we have got 25 over 250. I don't know what that means. Let's see what happens when we click on this menu button. IND over 0. IND over up to 10. Oh, it goes down to -10. Let's leave that at 0 for now, since I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Click it again, and it goes to STP over 2T, 4T. Oh, right, so that's 2-step, 4-step. I sort of understand what that's about. Leave it on 2. All right, so it's step. Right, okay. Click it again. We've got HS over 2. That can go all the way to 10. We'll leave it on 2 because, again, don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. And we're back to IND. Okay, material then. Oh, it's actually written there, which is nice. I'll click it again. Flux. Argon 100% aluminum. That's what I want. Let's see what else there is while we're here. CO2 100%. So that's argon 75, CO2 25, which is what I would use for MIG welding steel. And that's flux core, argon. Excellent. Okay, and it seems to change values over here, which is nice. Okay, let's move over to this button here, which was wire diameters. It's currently on 0.35, aluminum 0.45, 0.35, 0.45. All right, because it knows we're doing aluminum, giving us wire choices. Now I do believe that 0.8 millimeters is 0.035 inches. Don't ask me how I know, because I'm kind of guessing. Next up, we've got Synergic MIG mode. Oh my goodness, what happens when I press this? Current 250. Not a clue. Okay, I'm going to go and do some reading before I blow the machine up. Okay, I was on the right tracks. There's a couple of things that I've learned since reading the instructions. First thing is I need to change the tip. There is a specific aluminum tip that I need to use, so that's an important point to read the instructions for. The other things that I didn't understand: IND inductance, HS hot start, and BBT burn back time. Recommend to use default value, so that's what I'm going to do. And I think we are pretty much there. It's got set the V button in front panel, voltage can micro change, blah blah blah. Wire feed speed cannot be adjustable. That's interesting. So we're pretty much there. Not done anything majorly wrong. Read the instructions, people. They are here and they are, you know, kind of helpful. So I am going to find some scraps of aluminum. I've only got scraps. I don't have like a nice big square sheet like other reviewers have got. So some scraps of aluminum, welding jacket, helmet, gloves, garage door open for ventilation. Let's do it. My small selection of aluminum scrap. I think that's aluminum, not sure. We'll find out when I give it a try. Maybe stainless steel. Don't know what will happen, but we'll give it a shot. I'm going to start with one of these because I know these are aluminum. I'm very skeptical, to be honest, because everything seems to be set in auto. So I'm not sure how it's going to calculate the voltage, the wire speed, all that kind of stuff. Let's find out. Something went wrong. Oh, come on now. You didn't really expect a perfect weld first time, did you? So that tip is completely melted. So either the wire speed isn't right or too much voltage. And the heat's just going straight back up the wire and touching against the tip. So I think I'll be going through some tips till I get this right. I'm also going to take it off of that synergic mode and put it on manual. Or at least if I can find a way to turn the voltage down. And we'll gradually turn it up till we know what we're doing. Right, let's try again. I'm going to run out of tips really quickly. I hope I can get a half decent weld before I run out. So I can actually turn down the voltage in the synergic mode. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to turn it all the way down to begin with. And if it doesn't burn up the tip, I'll start turning up a bit, because there's no way that the lowest voltage is going to be able to weld that. Take two. Immediately burnt the wire up and destroyed the tip again. Actually, the tip isn't destroyed this time because I stopped it quickly, but as you can see, the wire just dissolved. Right, back to the drawing board. Let me do some more reading and see if we can figure this out. Right, I've taken it off of that synergy mode and we're on manual mode, and I've worked out how to change the wire speed. So it's not burning up the wire anymore, but I think my voltage is a bit low. So I'll show you what I've got so far. It makes this really weird alien machine gun noise. Tip's melted again. Ugh. Okay, nothing was working. And then I remembered I watched a review someone else did, and they actually swapped around the polarities of the cables, contrary to what was in the instruction manual, which is a really bad error if this works. So I've swapped them over. Let's try once more. This is tough. I'm pretty sure the machine's fine. I just don't know what on earth I'm doing. So I'm going to do a wee bit more studying, and I'll come back when I've got a bit more knowledge in my noggin. So stay tuned. Finally. Well, I'm not going to lie, that was an absolute nightmare. I even watched someone else's video, similar story. He'd been welding steel all his life, never MIG welded aluminum until his review. And magically, he welded perfect welds first time. So either he was incredibly lucky or he's a total liar. You can figure out which one I think he is, because even his welds didn't need cleaned. It was ridiculous. So the weld that I did eventually get looks like that. Now, yes, this is way too thick for a first attempt, but it's kind of all I've got. So have a look at this. Now, it's definitely penetrating. Okay, we've got like weird scorch marks and everything. That's it cleaned up, obviously. Now, as I say, it's way too thick. Aluminum is just a big heat sink, so I would have probably had to preheat that with a blowtorch. That was probably the main issue. But before I actually managed to weld that bead, I was practicing on some very thin aluminum trim. I really hope my wife wasn't expecting to use this for anything, because it's completely ruined. But this kind of let me dial in all the settings. You know, I was blowing holes through most of it. I did start getting a couple of beads there, but it was just burning up the wire. So eventually I switched it to manual settings and started playing with that. And eventually, as you saw, I've got a big, thick, meaty weld. So I think it's probably a really good welder for aluminum if you know what you're doing, and I clearly don't. So I tell you what, we're going to hopefully finish this on a high. I'm going to switch the wire over to Flux core. I've been doing a lot of Flux core welding recently. Kind of know what I'm doing, so I should get a perfect weld from that, and then we'll see if I'm going to give this the thumbs up or the thumbs down or the thumbs sideways. Let me switch over, see you in a minute. We're all fluxed up. Liner has been changed to the steel one, not the graphene one. Changed the roller to the normal, not U-shaped groove one. The polarity would be the same as they had specified originally for aluminum. So I think it's just the aluminum setting they've got the wrong way around. Hoping everything goes fine this time. We've got some different thicknesses of steel. We've got some very thin stuff, medium, and frame type steel. I wouldn't be welding anything thicker than that anyway. Sort of channel frame steel. So we're going to try it in the synergy mode again, and hopefully we'll have better results. Pretty good straight out the box. I'll try another line. I'm just filling these little, whoops. I'm just filling these little gaps that I cut. Perfectly happy with that. Let's try some thinner stuff at a lower voltage and then some thicker stuff at a higher voltage. So that was at the lowest setting, and I was blowing holes through it, but not as easily as I used to in my other weld, my Lincoln. So I reckon if I just kind of do tacks rather than how you would normally make a bead, then we'll probably be pretty good with that. Right, let's try the big daddy thick stuff. I will weld this. I weld this bracket on because it's the same thickness. I'm happy with that. So that was my first straight out the box weld. It's absolutely fine. Doesn't need to look pretty when you're using flux core. You're not using it for nice bodywork stuff, as you can see there, because I have blown holes right through that. But that was, I was trying to do the sort of circular technique to make a bead there, which you can't really do. You have to do a dab there, then there, then there, and then cool it and all that. For this, it's really, really skinny steel, but it still made a fairly solid weld. And then finally the big chunky one. Perfectly happy with that. In conclusion then, I don't have a clue how to weld aluminum. That's the truth. I'm still very skeptical of these other people that just perfect weld first time. As much as I would love to keep on singing YesWelders praises, this is not a straight out the box weld aluminum. However, it is a straight out the box and weld steel, no problem at all. Flux core, can't really go wrong with flux core. I would love to try with shielding gas, but I don't have any shielding gas at the moment, and I think I would get a really nice clean weld. So as soon as I get the big bottle of CO2 argon mix, I'll be trying out the non-flux core method. So I think, oh, actually the other thing, YesWelder, you've got to change your instruction manual. The polarity is definitely wrong. I am like the 20,000th person to have this problem. I check it online, everyone says swap it over and it works. So you need to sort your instruction manual. And I'm still waiting for a reply about the broken part. It didn't give me any issues today, super glue is fine, but not everyone is ready to repair a brand new item. So I'll update you on what sort of reply I get. I'm sure their priority is to actually help their customers, their paying customers. So I am going to give it a thumbs almost up. And the only reason it's not going to full thumbs up is because the instructions are they're just wrong. They're just wrong. I need to look into that. Perfectly fine. And I'm looking forward to using it for my project. Link in the description if you're interested. Go and look at their site. They've got a brand new multi-purpose. I think it does like 7, 8, 9 different things. Cuts, welds, TIGs, everything. And it's on mega discount just now. But I've got enough. I don't need another one. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. See you in the next build video. We're getting back on the 7R7. It's a bit thundery outside. I'm going to enjoy it. See you later. Bye. Quick update, guys. I just went and checked my email and YesWelder have replied and they want to send me a brand new machine. I of course said that's way too generous, super glue is fine, but thanks for the offer. So hopefully that's going to be the same for regular customers. Right, as you were. Bye.